And 25 years ago, the murder of 3 young boys in West Memphis shocked the Mid-South and the nation.
Terry Hobbs says that's why he wrote this book. His stepsons, Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Chris Byers were all murdered in West Memphis.
The goal is to find the real killers in this case.
This video contains the deposition of Terry Hobbs, the father of Stevie Branch, who along with 2 of his friends was murdered in 1993. On May 5th, 1993, 3 8-year-old boys, Steve Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers, were reported missing in West Memphis, Arkansas. Initial police searches made that night were limited. Friends and neighbors also conducted a search that night, which included a cursory visit to the location where the bodies were later found. A more thorough police search for the children began around 8 a.m. on May 6th. Searchers canvassed all of West Memphis, but focused primarily on Robin Hood Hills, where the boys were reported last seen. Despite a shoulder-to-shoulder search of Robin Hood Hills by a human chain, searchers found no sign of the missing boys. Around 1:45 p.m., Juvenile Patrol Officer Steve Jones spotted a boy's black shoe floating in a muddy creek that led to a major drainage canal in Robin Hood Hills. A subsequent search of the ditch revealed the bodies of 3 boys. They had been stripped naked and were hogtied with their own shoelaces, their right ankles tied to their right wrists behind their backs, the same way with their left arms and legs. The autopsies indicated that Byers died of multiple injuries, while Moore and Branch died of multiple injuries with drowning. Jesse Miskelly Jr., Jason Baldwin, and Damian Eccles were soon arrested for the crime, although there was little evidence to tie the 3 teens to the crime. However, emotions were running high, and some attest that the case was not handled properly, which resulted in all 3 being convicted. There was a growing belief among the public that the boys, the West Memphis 3 as they came to be called, had been wrongfully convicted, and there was a large push for a retrial. Among those voicing their support was a wide range of celebrities, including members of the Dixie Chicks. Terry Hobbs, the father of Terry Branch, believed that the Dixie Chicks were targeting him and accusing him of the crime.
Do you have a list of, you said you've got a list of folks in your mind that you want to sue. Give me the list.
Everybody who brought my name up about suspecting me as a suspect, okay, I feel like should be dealt with in the courts.
Okay. Do you, other than just a general category, do you have a list of specific folks that you want to sue?
Everyone who brought my name up.
My question is, do you have specific individuals or entities in mind?
Oh, I'd love to sue that defense team.
Okay. And that would be Mr. Reardon and those folks?
All his clowns.
Okay, all his clowns. Who else?
Everybody else that brought my name up.
I'm asking for specific, did you have any specific names, Mr. Hobbs?
Nah, Mark Byers.
You want to sue Mark? Why do you want to sue Mark Byers?
For calling me a child killer.
When did he do that?
On TV. Ask him.
My question is, when did he call you a child killer on TV?
On Larry King.
When did he do that?
Whenever they done the Larry King live show.
All right. Well, why hadn't you sued him?
Well, he might be on the list.
Okay. Well, my question is, if he came on TV and called you a child killer, and I'm assuming you didn't do it. Did you do it? Did you kill those 3 little boys?
I can't believe you.
Well, sir, my question is you've sued my folks for a lot of bad things, and one of the things is just basically saying that that they were wrongfully convicted, and the killer of the 3 little boys is still at large. And my question to you, sir, is, did you kill those 3 little boys?
No, sir.
You know, a lot of people think you did.
I don't care.
Okay.
That's why I'm here today.
Were you involved in the murder of the 3 little boys?
No, sir. One of them little boys was my stepson.
I appreciate that, sir. Do you think the West Memphis 3, the 3 that were convicted in '94, do you think they did it?
Sure do.
No doubt in your mind?
Correct.
Has there ever been a doubt in your mind?
No.
Naturally, it is in Hobbs's best interest for everyone to believe that the other men were guilty if he was the one who murdered the children.
You would agree with me, sir, that there is a doubt in a lot of other people's minds.
I don't care about that.
Okay. You don't want them to get a new trial, do you?
Justice has taken its toll, and I appreciate the justice system.
My question, sir, is you don't want the West Memphis 3 to get a new trial, do you?
They don't deserve one.
I take it that you don't want them to get a new trial.
Exactly.
And the reason is?
They killed 3 little boys.
If there's a doubt that they killed the 3 little boys, do you think they deserve a new trial?
There's never been a doubt proven.
Not in your mind?
Nor in the minds of the justice system.
And you realize that those appeals are still underway?
I don't care.
But you understand that?
I do.
Okay. We need to change the tape, so let's go off. And then I've just got about 5 minutes, then we'll take a break. It'll be a good time for a break, but I want to ask one set of questions, so off the record.
We're going off record to change tapes at 9:59 a.m. And we are now back on record after a tape change at 10:02 a.m.
Mr. Hobbs, you understand that you're still under oath?
I do.
Okay. I have, I'll be honest, as part of this lawsuit, I have learned more about the events of May the 5th than I ever knew about. And I will also be honest in that in reading these materials, looking at your police interview, reading your journal, listening to what other people said, it's still unclear to me as to what happened that night. So I wanted you to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in your own words, what happened that night and what you did from when you got off work until the 3 little boys were found. I want you to tell us in your own words what happened. Can you do that?
I can.
Please do.
But I'd rather not.
Well, I appreciate that you'd rather not, but I need you to. You've brought this lawsuit.
If you had to relive something like this.
Mr. Hobbs, you've brought the lawsuit. You chose to relive it. And so I want you to look into that camera and tell the ladies in the jury, under oath, what happened that day and what you did.
I did what a parent would have done.
I want you to walk me through from when you got off work, what you did and what happened until the little boys were found. And I apologize if it's hard to relive. I have 2 little boys of my own, and I can only imagine.
No, you can't.
I can only imagine the pain.
You cannot.
Well, maybe I can't. But I've lost a brother to sudden death as well. So I think I have a little empathy, maybe not as much. But I need you, since you brought this lawsuit, to look into that camera and tell the jury what happened.
As a parent, I come home from work, May the 5th, 1993.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that one of my children was not at home. I asked my wife, "Where's Stevie?" He's gone off riding his bicycle with his friend Michael Moore. I did what any other parent would have done. I'd go outside and look down the street, see when he's supposed to come home. He's supposed to have been home by 4:30. Didn't see him on the sidewalk. Pam cooking supper, wife, had to be at work by 5 o'clock. We don't eat supper because Stevie's not home. We always eat supper together. And it comes getting close to 5 o'clock, we decide to go ahead and take Pam to work.
That's you and Amanda?
Me and Amanda and Pam.
And Pam, you and Amanda decided to take Pam to work?
We all 3 decided that it's time for her to go work.
Between 4:30 and when you got home, it was time to take Pam, other than walking out and looking in the street. Did you do anything to find Stevie?
Not before then.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
We take Pam to work by 5 o'clock. We stopped over at the Moore's house
Pam worked where?
at Catfish Island Restaurant
Okay.
in West Memphis.
At this point, none of the parents were overly concerned. Each assumed that the boys had lost track of time, or with one of the other families.
How long did it take you to get from your house to the Catfish place?
Roughly 10 minutes.
Okay. And did she get there right at 5 or a few minutes before?
She usually tried to go in a few minutes early.
Okay. And then you and Amanda then went back to your house?
We stopped by the Moore's house, Michael Moore's parents' home, on the way over there to
Okay.
take Pam to work.
Were they home?
No.
Did you
Her
ring
daughter was there.
Did you rang the bell and talk to the daughter?
Pam might have. I'm not sure if it was me or Pam that done that.
Okay. Well, Amanda was what, 4?
Correct?
So you sat in the car and sent your 4-year-old to the door?
I said Pam.
Oh, Pam. I thought it was. Well, no. Hold on now. We've already
We
dropped.
were on our way to take Pam to work.
Okay. Well, my question before. I apologize. My question before had been before you got home, after you got home, and before you dropped Pam off, what you had done other than go outside in the street, and you said nothing. Now you and Pam and Amanda stopped at the Moores on the way, or was that on the after you dropped Pam off? You can see why I'm confused, Mr. Hobbs.
On our way to take Pam to work, we stopped at the Moore's home.
Okay. So Pam was still with you at that time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Pam went to the Moore's house.
One of us did.
You or Pam, you don't remember which.
Correct.
And you rang the bell, and Mrs. Moore wasn't there, but their daughter was there?
Yes.
And who was their daughter?
Don Moore.
And how old was Dawn at the time?
I think she was a little bit older than Stevie.
Okay. 8, 9, 10?
Something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay. And no one else was home. Stevie obviously wasn't there.
Correct.
Okay. And so, and then at that point, you went from the Moores to the Catfish place?
We did. Took
And you-
Pam to work.
And you got to the Catfish place a little bit before 5, and it took 5 minutes to get from your house to the Catfish place. Where's the Moores in relation to the route you would have taken from your
They're
house?
en route to her,
Okay.
from our home to her work.
Well, do you recall what time you left your house to
No, I don't.
stop at the Moores?
No.
Okay. All right. So you and Amanda drop Pam off at 5 o'clock. And then
Roughly.
you go, roughly. And then you go back home. You don't stop at the Moores again, right?
I stopped at the Moore's home on the way back to see if the boys had made it there.
Okay.
And they were not there.
Did you go to the front door or did Amanda?
I did.
Okay. So now you went to the front door. And was just the daughter there still?
Yes.
Anybody else there?
Not that I could see.
All right. Then what happened?
Well, we ride around the neighborhood looking for them because we know they're on bicycles.
And so you and Amanda drove around the neighborhood.
We did. We did that for a while.
Do you recall how long?
No, I don't. But anyway, we're riding around the neighborhood looking for our little boys on bicycles. We don't find them.
Did you know who Stevie was with at that point?
But he was supposed to have been with Michael Moore. That's all I knew.
Okay.
So we go back.
Where did you drive around looking?
Our neighborhood that we live in,
Okay.
West Memphis.
All over West Memphis.
In our neighborhood.
Does the neighborhood have
It does not.
what would be the boundaries of the area in which you searched then, Mr. Hobbs?
From our home to his home.
To the Moore's home.
Correct.
And where is the Robin Hood area? Where's that in relation to that?
Robin Hood was behind the Moores and Byers' home.
Okay. Okay. So you stop at the Moores, no one except the daughter's there. You drive around with your 4-year-old daughter for a while.
Right.
Then what happened?
And we go to back to our home, and we park the car, and me and Amanda walk around the neighborhood.
Do you recall about what time that is, sir?
No, I don't.
Was it before 6 or after 6?
I don't recall.
Okay.
But we're riding around the neighborhood, or
Right.
walking around at
Thank
this
you.
point. seeing if we could hear them, you know, see them or something, and we don't. So we go back to our house, and Don Moore's pulls up in my driveway.
Do you know about what time you went back to your house?
No, I don't.
You have any sense? 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7, 8, 9?
No, I don't.
Was it light?
It was still daylight.
Okay.
But
So you went back to your house, and Miss Moore then came to your house.
and she pulls up in our driveway,
Okay.
and she asked us if Michael Moore's at our house, and I said, no, it's Stevie, it's yours.
As the parents began to make contact, the panic began to set in. The boys were only 8 years old, and this was beyond a reasonable amount of time for them to be late. Right now, you can watch another incredibly intense case on my Patreon. Discover the disturbing story of the Ken and Barbie killers, a terrifying tale about a couple obsessed with violence. Dive into their dark journey as they become immersed in unimaginable horrors. Watch this shocking video, along with many others, at patreon.com/strangerstoriesplus.
She said, no, but I'm heading back to her house, or she's heading back to her house. And I said, we'll follow you over there, see if the boys are there. We get over her house, the boys are not there, and we're standing in her front yard talking, and here comes John Mark Byers walking across the street. That's the first time I met John Mark Byers.
Do you recall about what time this was, sir?
No, I don't. He asked, is Christopher over at the Moore's home? And we, you know, Dana speaks up and tells him no. And it might have been then when we figure out they all three might have been together.
Mr. Hobbs, I hate to interrupt, but you're covering your microphone there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. How long were you at the Moores before Mr. Byers showed
I'm
up?
not sure.
I mean, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half hour?
I'm not sure.
Was it a short period of time or a long period of time?
I'm not sure.
How long were you at the Moore's house?
Wasn't that long, but I don't know how long. Wasn't long.
Okay. All right. So then when Mr. Byers shows up, you looking for his son, right?
Correct.
Then what happened?
We just split up and start looking for him.
Okay. Split up.
Dawn stays at the home and says she'll wait by the phone in case somebody called. I take my daughter over to a friend's home,
Who's that?
and David Jacoby and his wife Bobby, they had little kids also. David goes with me, and we start riding around looking for the little boys. At the same time, the Byers, Mark and Melissa, are riding around looking for their boy. And we continue this for all the way up to the next morning.
Okay. I need to fill in a few blanks. How long were you at Mr. Jacoby's house?
Long enough to drop my daughter off and see if he'd go help me.
Okay. And did he go help you?
He went around with me, and we rode around looking. He sure did, all the way up till early in the morning.
Well, let's back up. So what time, do you recall what time you left Amanda in Mr. Jacoby's house?
No, I don't.
Do you recall how, and you and Mr. Jacoby drove around in a car looking?
We did.
Your car or his car?
Probably mine.
Okay. What kind of car were you driving?
I don't remember.
Where'd you drive around?
The whole city of West Memphis.
Just in your neighborhood or just all
The
over?
whole city of West Memphis.
Okay. Did you play any Guitar Hero while you were at Mr. Jacoby's?
I don't recall. I don't remember that.
You don't remember playing Guitar Hero at Mr. Jacoby's for a while?
Not that day. I don't remember.
You used to play Guitar Hero a lot at his house, right?
No, never.
Never played Guitar Hero at his house?
I played guitars at his house,
Okay, guitars. I'm
but
sorry.
not the game.
All right, I apologize. Do you recall playing guitars at his house that night?
No.
During the initial questioning, Hobbs claimed to have spent most of the time period of Stevie's disappearance with Jacoby. Jacoby testified that the two of them were not together for very long.
You don't recall, or you didn't?
I don't recall.
Did you smoke any marijuana while you were at his house?
No.
That night?
No.
Do any other drugs while you were at his house that night?
No.
Multiple witnesses say that Hobbs and Jacoby went to the home of Billy Wayne Stewart to buy pot. Then, along with another man and two teenage boys, the group drove around town smoking and drinking whiskey before going into the woods.
While you were out looking for the boys, prior to the time that you went to pick Pam up at work, did you ever find the boys?
No.
If somebody testifies that they saw you with the boys that night.
Do what?
If somebody testified that they saw you and the boys, would they be lying?
Mm-hmm. They would be lying.
Because you never found the boys.
No, I never found them.
Never found them alive?
Never found them at all.
Okay. So if someone were to testify that they saw the three little boys standing behind you on the evening of May the 5th, prior to the time that you went to pick up Pam, they'd be mistaken.
And most definitely. I can't wait to hear that one.
Did you see Stevie at all that day, May the 5th?
No, I did not.
Did you see any of the three boys that day?
No, I did not.
So you didn't give Stevie... What time was Stevie supposed to be home? You said 4:30?
Pam told me 4:30.
Okay. You never gave Stevie permission to stay out later that night?
Now, I never seen Stevie that day.
Okay. Did you talk to Stevie that day?
No.
Did you have a phone in your house?
Uh-huh.
Did you have to answer out loud? Was it working?
Sure.
Okay. So you and Mr. Jacoby, so you dropped your daughter, Amanda, off at Mr. Jacoby's, and you and Mr. Jacoby drove around all over West Memphis looking for the three little boys.
Good answer.
Well, that's not my answer. That's your testimony, right?
It is.
Okay. And you never found them.
We never.
You never saw them.
Never.
At some point, then what time did you stop looking with Mr. Jacoby?
David had to be at work May the 6th, roughly a.m., early a.m., May the 6th.
Okay. When did you call the police to report that your son was missing?
When we picked Pam up from work.
Which was
9 p.m. May the 5th.
9/11, exactly. Correct.
Okay.
Does that sound about right, that you made the
I
call at
remember.
9/11?
I know we called from Catfish Island when I picked her up at work.
And at that point, Stevie was 4.5 hours late?
4:30 to 9.
Why didn't you call the police sooner?
I was busy looking and just thinking he was playing at some boys' house.
Were you mad at him?
No,
You weren't mad at him for being late?
no, no, we didn't act like that.
You didn't act like that? What do you mean by that, sir?
We just didn't act like that.
Were you lenient with him? You didn't punish him much?
We was good parents.
That's not my question. Did you punish him much?
No,
Didn't you tell the police in June of '07 that you used to hit him with a belt?
if we corrected him with the belt, we would whoop him with a belt, but no, we didn't go around hitting him with belts.
Hobbs had a history of being violent with women and children, but he will hardly admit that here unless forced to do so.
Well, so you did, when you got mad at him, you would hit him with a belt. You'd punish him with a belt.
No,
No? So you were lying to the police then?
No, sure wouldn't.
Well, what is it? When you would punish him, would you hit him with the belt or not?
There was other forms of punishment besides whooping him with belt.
I understand that, but would you whoop him with a belt?
I have.
Okay. And you used to leave marks on him, didn't you?
Not that I ever seen.
Did you lose your temper very often?
No.
Pretty even keel guy?
Try to be.
You ever hit your wife?
Slapped her once.
Only once?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer out loud.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so how long before you had to go, because it was just you and Amanda went to pick up Pam, right?
Correct.
So at some point you had to go back to Mr. Jacoby's house to get your daughter.
Yes.
At what point did you go back to Mr. Jacoby's house to get your daughter?
Before I went and picked Pam up.
Understand that. How long?
I don't know.
Did you spend any time at Mr. Jacoby's house after you were out looking and you came back to get Amanda before you went to pick up Pam? Or was it, come on Amanda, we got to go?
I'm sure I took her over there, dropped her off, or took him back home, picked her up, and went and picked Pam up. I'm not sure how long we was there.
You have something to drink?
I don't drink.
Well, maybe a glass of water?
No.
And you don't drink? You don't drink alcohol?
No.
Did you then?
A little bit, socially.
Socially? Well, did you have anything to drink that night?
No.
And it's your testimony you weren't mad at your stepson for being out late?
Correct.
When you and Mr. Jacoby were driving around looking for Stevie prior to 9 o'clock, did you get out of the car at all?
Sure.
Where?
Different places in West Memphis.
Do you
we
recall?
We pulled up into this wooded place, walked down a path under a bridge.
What wooded place?
I don't know what it's called. We didn't know what we was looking for. We were just looking.
So you were just walking around in the woods?
At different times, yes.
Did you ever end up walking around in what's referred to as Robin Hill?
We done that.
So you and Mr. Jacoby got out and walked around in the Robin Hood Hills area prior to the time you picked Pam up, looking for the little boys.
Well, I'm not sure if we went to Robin Hood, but we was all over West Memphis looking for our boys.
My question to you, sir, is when you and Mr. Jacoby were looking for the 3 little boys, prior to the time that you picked up Pam, did you get out of the car and walk around the Robin?
I'm not sure.
Wouldn't that be something that would seem to be something that you would remember if that's where the little boys were eventually found and you were there? So it's your testimony you can't recall if you searched the area where the 3 little boys were actually found?
Correct. We didn't.
I'm sorry?
We didn't.
You didn't? You didn't search the area?
Where they were found, like you said, no.
What about that general area? Did you get out of the car in that general area?
Is this question still referring to the same time frame?
The same time frame.
15 minutes ago.
Absolutely, Ted.
Nah, I don't recall. I'm
You
not sure.
You don't
But
recall?
we were in and out all over town, getting in and out, going different places, looking for our little boys.
Okay. And then anything else that you did other than drive around with Mr. Jacoby, in and out of the car, different places, prior to the time that you picked up Pam?
Not that I recall.
Okay. You picked up Pam, 9 o'clock. She came out with some candy for both kids.
Correct.
And did you tell her that Stevie was still missing, or did you walk right past her to make a call?
No, she come out with 2 pieces of candy, and she said, "Where's Stevie?" And I said, "We hadn't found him yet."
And then what did she say?
"He's dead."
And what did you say?
"Don't say that."
If Hobbs were guilty, he would have tried to cover that up by pretending to remain hopeful that the boys would be found alive. Before we move forward, I want to extend my thanks for watching. This video today has no sponsor, so if you're enjoying it, subscribing helps the channel grow. You can also check out my second channel, Stranger Crimes, after this video.
Then what happened?
One of us went and called the police.
Who?
I don't know.
You don't remember if you called the police or Pam called the police?
Sure don't. Don't care.
You called the police, didn't you?
Couldn't tell you.
You don't know?
Don't know.
Do you know what the police were told when they were called at 9/11?
Mm-mm.
You have to answer out loud.
No.
Do you know what the police response was?
They came out and took a police report
Came out where?
to Catfish Island. We were still there when they came.
And how long did it take for them to get to Catfish Island?
I'm not sure. Wasn't long.
Half hour? 5 minutes?
I'm
Hour?
not sure.
What's not long in that sense of time, Mr. Hobbs?
I'm not sure. We called the police. They showed up. No one timed them.
And who was looking for Stevie at this time while you were waiting at Catfish Island for the police to show up?
Well, I don't know who was looking for Stevie. I don't know.
To your knowledge, was anybody?
I don't know if there was anyone out there looking for Stevie.
Was anybody looking for the other two boys as well?
You would hope.
But you don't know that.
Correct.
And then the police came to Catfish Island. You made a police report, right?
We did.
And then what happened?
We leave Catfish Island. We go to Robin Hood with the police.
Why'd you go to Robin Hood with the police?
That's the last place that we had heard that someone had seen them.
Well, wait a second now. Who said that they had seen the boys at Robin Hood?
A lot of people.
Who?
I don't know their names.
Can you give me one person who told you prior to the time that the police came to Catfish, who told you that they had seen the boys at Robin Hood?
No, I cannot.
Well, and you told the police that they were last seen at Robin Hood, right?
That's what we had been told.
Who told you? And then when you say we,
I
that's what
couldn't tell
somebody
you.
had told you.
Exactly.
And who had told you that the boys were last seen at Robin Hood?
I'm not sure of their names.
Well,
A local.
Where did you find these people?
We were going door to door, or people out in their front yards asked them, "Have you seen three little boys?"
On bicycles.
Uh-huh. Well, yes. Someone had told us that we'd seen them going into Robin Hood.
And you don't recall who that was?
No, I don't.
It was someone in your neighborhood?
No, in the neighborhood of Robin Hood.
Was it a man or a woman who told you that?
It seemed like it was a man.
Do you recall, and I take it you don't know that person's name?
Correct.
You know how old that person was?
No.
Teenager? An elderly person?
Older person.
Kind of old like me or old like my grandfather?
I couldn't tell you, just older, an adult.
An adult, okay. And was this between
There were no such reports of anyone else having seen the boys.
4 and 6 before you went to the Jacobys that somebody told you this, or was this when you were with Mr. Jacoby driving around?
It was before I picked Pam up.
That's not my question.
I'm not sure of your answer.
Well, it's not my answer, it's your answer. I want to know, did the person who told you that they had last seen the boys in the Robin Hood area, was that before or after you went to Mr. Jacoby's house?
I'm not sure.
Were you alone searching for Stevie any time between 4 and 6 o'clock?
No.
Were you alone searching for Stevie any time between, well, let me back up, between 4 and 6, it was you and Amanda?
Me and Amanda, after we took Pam to work.
Okay, and Amanda at this point was 4?
She was.
All right. And between 6 o'clock and, say, 7 o'clock, were you alone at any point in time looking for Stevie?
No. Not to my knowledge.
Was always with Amanda?
Amanda or David.
Or Mr. Jacoby?
There was a time I picked David up.
All right. And then you were with David from the time that you dropped Amanda off at his house until you went back to his house to pick up Amanda to go get Pam. Is that your testimony?
I was with David and a lot of other people from time to time.
Okay. And the other people were the other people in the neighborhood looking for the 3 little boys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After you picked Pam up, you went back to your house?
We went to Robin Hood first.
Went Robin Hood first with the police?
Correct.
Did you go into the woods?
We did.
Did you see anything?
Woods, growed up brush.
How long were you at Robin Hood with the police?
I don't recall.
Long time or short time?
Short time because it was coming up on their shift change.
Okay. Do you recall when the shift change was?
No, I don't.
And how many police officers were with you and Pam and Amanda and looking in the Robin Hoods area?
Well, first of all, Amanda wasn't there.
Well, I thought you went straight from Catfish to
Well, I think she sat in the car. I don't think she got out.
Okay, but she was with you in the car but didn't get out. Okay, okay. And then you and Pam and the police officer got out.
Mm-hmm.
How many police officers were there?
One.
And do you recall who that was?
Regina Meeks.
Okay. And how long, you don't recall how long you spent there?
No, but it wasn't long.
5 minutes?
Maybe that or a little longer.
Okay. And then after that you went home?
I believe we did.
Okay. And what did you do when you got home? Do you recall what time you got home?
No, sir.
Approximate?
No.
Do you have any idea, a sense of how long between the time Pam had gotten off work until the time you got home?
No, I don't.
What happened when you got home?
Well, we changed clothes and went back out.
Pam changed clothes out of her work clothes.
She did.
And you changed clothes?
Probably. I don't remember.
Why would you have changed clothes?
I said probably. I don't remember.
Okay. If you changed clothes, why would you have changed clothes?
Because I wanted to.
Why?
I don't have a why.
You just did?
Hobbs becomes sharp and defensive. At one point, his sister-in-law accused him of washing his clothing that night, which was not his usual habit.
If I did, it's because I wanted to. I might have had on nicer clothes and wanted to put on something that wasn't so nice, being out there in the woods.
Okay. And how long were you at home before you and Pam then went back out?
I'm not sure.
And did you and Pam then go out together?
We did.
Who was watching Amanda?
Probably the Jacobys.
Did you take Amanda to the Jacobys, or were the Jacobys at your house?
No, we would probably take them back over there.
Okay, so you took Amanda. I'm just trying to figure out what happened. So then you and Pam changed. You took Amanda to the Jacobys.
We did.
You and Pam took Amanda to the Jacobys, dropped her off, and then went and searched some more.
Yes, sir.
Where'd you go? And just you and Pam at that point?
David might have went with us. Matter of fact, David did go with us.
Walking or driving?
Driving.
Your car or his car?
Probably ours.
Okay. Do you recall what car?
No, no, I don't.
Okay. Where'd you go look?
Well, it was kind of hard to get your focus off of Robin Hood because we were told that they were last seen going into Robin Hood and not knowing what Robin Hood was. When you go out there and look at it, it was a place that you didn't want to see your kids hanging out at. So we went back to Robin Hood.
Direct off from the Jacobys?
Well, I'm not going to say direct.
But that was where you were, that's where you ended up?
It was.
Do you recall about what time you got to Robin Hood with you and Mr. Jacoby and Pam?
No, I don't.
Did you get out of the car? Did you guys get out of the car?
We did.
Did you walk back in the woods?
Yeah. We did.
Were there areas of the woods that you just didn't go back in because you didn't like the feeling?
You just didn't. We didn't know what was out there.
That's not my question. My question was, were there parts of the woods that you have said that you just got a bad feeling and you didn't want to go back into?
Yeah.
Describe that for me.
Well, it's dark. You don't know what's out there, so you just don't want to go out there.
But your stepson's out there.
We didn't know that.
You know he's somewhere.
We didn't know he was out there.
You knew he was out there missing.
We knew he was last seen going. Someone said they had last seen him going in there. We did not know he was out there.
And did you say, I'm not going back in there?
I don't recall that.
You say, I had a bad feeling about this place, I'm not going back there?
Well, there was a part of it.
And
I might have said that too.
Who would you have told that to? I got a bad feeling about this place, I'm not going back there.
David and my father-in-law, Jackie Hicks Sr.
Well, Jackie was with you now too?
He was.
Who else was with you?
Well, there was different people at different times.
How many people? When did your father-in-law hook up with you after you went to the Jacobys?
Pam called him.
My question was, when did he hook up with you as part of the search? Because when we left the Jacobys, it was you and Mr. Jacoby and Amanda, and Pam in the car. So I'm trying to figure out when all these other people joined up with you.
Amanda was probably stayed at the Jacobys.
Exactly, and it was you and Pam and Mr. Jacoby.
And her dad and mother were en route from Blytheville to West Memphis.
Okay, and how did they know to end up at Robin Hood?
We met up with them somewhere.
Where?
I couldn't tell you.
When?
Couldn't tell you.
Is that before or after you'd been to Robin Hood the first time?
Probably after. Well, I know it was.
The first time was with the police.
Right.
Hobbs doesn't give much thought to his answers, rapidly replying that he doesn't know or doesn't remember.
And then
first time might have been before the police, when was in the neighborhood
with you and David
and some of the neighborhood locals.
Okay, and then you went back with the police.
Correct, with Pam.
And Pam, and then you and Mr. Jacoby and Pam. Was that just the three of you? And then you went back a fourth time, or did you have your father-in-law and a bunch of other folks there?
We were in and out of Robin Hood all night long.
Okay. Okay. And at one point, Mr. Jacoby had to go home because he had to be at work the next day, right?
Correct.
And what time was that? Did Mr. Jacoby?
A.M., early A.M.
No. What time did you take Mr. Jacoby back to his house?
I'm not sure.
Before midnight or after midnight?
After.
Before 2 or after 2?
I'm not sure.
Sometime between midnight and 2?
Before daylight.
It's not my question.
I'm not sure.
Before 2?
Not sure.
After you dropped Mr. Jacoby off at his house, you and Pam went back to your house?
Seemed like we might have.
Well, you did, right? That's what's in the journal. That's what's been testified to. That's what you told the police, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm not. Okay, that's what you told the police, right?
All right.
And then what happened?
Well, we go to school the morning of the 6th, where the boys went to school to see if they have arrived at school. And they were not there.
Okay. So when you got home, after you dropped Mr. Jacoby off and you and Pam went home, what happened, Mr. Hobbs, between then and when you went to school?
Well, I know the media showed up and did a live interview because we have been trying to we were in and out of the police department 2 or 3 times that night, down there asking them for help.
And the police weren't searching at that point, were they?
We didn't see them.
Okay. It was all just private citizens, if you will. Family,
and
neighbors,
friends.
But the media showed up. They were at the school, right? Or were they at your house?
Seemed like the media was out in Robin Hood. I don't really remember, but it seemed like they were in Robin Hood.
Okay, but my question is between, say, 2 o'clock, when you, or whenever you dropped Mr. Jacoby off, sometime between midnight and 2, and you went back to the house.
Seemed like I dropped Mr. Jacoby off, or I didn't drop him off, or we might have, I'm not sure. But he had to be at work a.m. on the 6th.
I understand that, and so he got back.
And I wanted him to go to work and tell our boss what we was doing.
So is it your testimony Mr. Jacoby was with you all night until he went to work? Is that your testimony?
Well, he was with Pam. There was a time he was with Pam, and there was a we might have all been together.
Well,
Yeah,
I
wouldn't doubt it.
I'm trying to figure out what happened, and I want you to tell me the best you can, Mr. Hobbs, under oath. Did you take Mr. Jacoby home sometime before 2 so he could get some sleep before work, or was he with you right up until the time he had to go to work?
I don't remember that.
Was there a point in time when you went home and left Pam at home?
No.
So Pam was with you all night?
Or her dad and mom. They come down and we went in separate vehicles. There was a time when me and David rode around. There was a time me and Pam rode around. There was a time we all followed each other around.
From, I want to specifically focus on what happened, say, between 1 in the morning and 6 in the morning. Where were you?
With family and friends and the police.
There was never, so it's your testimony, there was never a point in time when you were alone between 1 and 6 a.m. Is that your testimony, sir?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. And were you out searching this entire time, or were you at home?
Searching.
So you never were at home?
Well, there was a time we went home. I'm not sure what time, but yeah, there was a time we went home.
And then after you went home, did you go back out?
Sure.
And did Pam go with you?
Yeah.
The search was not organized, and it is difficult to get a clear timeline for everyone's location.
Where did you go searching then?
Robin Hood, riding around West Memphis at the school.
Okay. Did you do, there's been some discussion in the media over the years about you doing laundry the evening of the 5th or the morning of the 6th. Recall that?
It didn't happen.
You didn't do any laundry?
No, I didn't.
So if someone were to testify that they saw you doing laundry in the morning of the 6th, the evening of the 5th or morning of the 6th, beds, bed sheets, drapes, curtains, clothes, all that crap, all that stuff, they would be lying.
Most definitely.
Okay. Would you agree with me that under the circumstances that if you had done laundry, that that would have been a most unusual time to do it?
Well, I'm not going to agree with you because it didn't happen.
Okay. But if it did happen,
it didn't.
Assume with me that it did.
I will not.
Would you agree that it would be most unusual to do laundry at that point, given what's going on in your life at that point, sir?
Well, it didn't happen in my life, so I don't know how to answer that.
If Pam would have done laundry, would you have agreed that that would have been a most unusual time to do laundry?
We don't have a schedule for doing things. We just done them.
That's not my question. Would you agree that if someone's child has been missing, is missing, and that a police report has been filed, and that family and friends are out searching the night and searching the woods, that it would be most unusual for a parent of one of those missing children to do laundry?
If it happened, it probably would be.
Would be a most unusual.
I would think.
Did you speak with the media on the morning of the 6th?
I'm not sure.
Mr. Hobbs, we've been going for some period of time. It's probably a good time to take a break. 5-minute, what I like to call personal comfort break.
Sounds good.
We are going off record for a break at 10:43 a.m. And we are now back on record after a break at 10:58 a.m.
Thank you. Mr. Hobbs, you understand you're still under oath?
Yes, sir.
All right. Why do you think the little boys were killed?
Don't know why.
You think it was something that got out of hand? Or you
I
think
don't
it was
know.
planned?
I don't know.
Do you ever tell anybody that you thought it was something that got out of hand?
I don't remember that.
You ever telling anybody that didn't think the people could handle the truth of what happened?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall that?
Mm-mm.
If somebody testified that you said that, would they be lying?
I'm not sure.
In your journal, you said that the boys were overkilled. What do you mean by that?
The medical examiner made that statement. I was just repeating him.
Okay. So it's okay to repeat things that are said in court?
I did mine.
I'm sorry?
I did mine.
I still didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I did
You did?
repeat his statement.
And that's okay. That doesn't. There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
I don't know.
Well, you didn't think you did anything wrong when you repeated what the medical examiner said in court, did you?
That's what he said.
Well, did you think you were saying or doing anything wrong when you repeated what was said in court?
No.
Okay. After you divorced Pam, or maybe even before you divorced Pam, you had a girlfriend, didn't you?
That would have been after.
Okay. After you divorced Pam, you had a girlfriend, right?
I had a lady friend.
What was her name?
One of them, Sharon Nelson.
Okay. When did you start dating Mrs. Nelson?
I
Ms.
couldn't
Nelson?
tell you.
Is she an honest lady?
Well, you might want to ask her.
I'm asking you, do you have an opinion as to whether or not she's an honest and truthful lady?
I don't know.
You have any reason to doubt anything that she says?
I sure do.
Why?
Because of the statement that she made to somebody.
Well, what statement are you referring to?
The one that you have a copy of.
You don't know what statements I have. What statement
I
are
do
you
too.
What statement are you referring to?
The one you have a copy of, made by Miss Sharon Nelson.
Well, what did she say that causes you to question whether or not she's an honest and truthful woman?
She made the statement that I told her that I discovered the boy's body before the police.
Several people have made the claim that Hobbs knew where the bodies were before they were discovered, although there has never been anything that could be admissible as proof.
What else did she say?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, did you ever tell her that?
Never, not one time in my life.
Okay. Did you do drugs when you were in her?
No.
You didn't do any drugs when you were around her?
No.
Do any drinking when you were around her? Is that still when you were drinking?
If I did, it'd been a beer.
Just a beer?
Probably.
So
I'm not sure if I did or not.
And at what time was she your, not girlfriend, woman friend? Lady friend?
You said what time?
During what time frame?
I'm not, after I divorced Pam.
When did you divorce Pam?
Seemed like that was in 05, 06, 05 maybe.
And how long after you divorced Pam in 05, 06 did you get this lady friend?
I don't know.
Well, 06, 07, 07, 08?
Sounds good.
No, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I want you to tell me
I don't
when you
keep
first.
up with stuff like that.
When did you live with her?
No.
No?
I had my own home.
Had your own home. She was your lady friend.
Mm-hmm.
Close?
Close. No.
Intimate?
I don't know.
Well, were you intimate with her?
I doubt it.
So you don't remember if you were intimate with her?
I probably.
Probably.
Yeah, she's not the type that you just hook up with.
What do you mean by that?
She wasn't my pick of the litter.
What do you mean by that?
Just what I said.
When you say something, when she says she wasn't your pick of the litter, what does that mean? I'm not familiar with that term.
There's nicer ladies out there.
Okay, but you spent time with her.
I did.
Had conversations with her.
Sure.
Had conversations with her about Stevie and the murders.
Well, about Stevie. Sure.
Sure. Had conversations with her about the murders.
No.
No. No conversation. Well, no conversations about the trial.
Probably with the trials.
With the trial. Any conversations with her about the West Memphis 3?
Probably.
Okay. And did you tell her at any point in time, did you discuss with her what happened, what you thought happened to the 3 little boys?
Probably to some degree.
What did you tell her?
I couldn't tell you.
Were you honest and truthful with her?
I tried to be.
Okay. And now she has said that you told her that you found the little boys prior to the police finding them, right?
I read that.
Okay. And did you? Did you find the little boys prior to the police finding them, Mr. Hobbs?
No, sir. Mike Allen of the West Memphis Police Department found the little boys.
My question is, did you find them before he did?
No, I did not.
Did you put them underwater before he did?
No.
You
He didn't do it either.
Well, he didn't do it either. Didn't ever said he did it. Matter of fact, no one's. Miss Hobbs, Miss Pasdar didn't say you did it either, did she? She didn't say you did that.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
You're not aware of Miss Hobbs, Miss Pasdar ever saying you did that, are you?
You need to check with her.
No, I need to check with you. Are you aware of her saying at any point in time that you killed those little boys?
Yeah, I believe she did.
When? When did she say you
In
killed
Little
these?
Rock on the internet.
And when you say Little Rock, you mean the rally.
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked at the YouTube video of that rally?
No, I haven't.
Do you know if your name is even mentioned at the rally?
It seemed like it was.
Why do you say that? Who told you that it was?
Out of the newspaper, the media,
Okay.
TVs.
And they said that and it's your testimony that the media and the newspapers.
The only mention of Hobbs was in connection to his DNA being found. There was no direct accusation.
Reported that Miss Pasdar mentioned you by name at the rally.
She brought up the new DNA, and whereby knew what the new DNA was all about.
How did they know?
Asked them.
Well, I'm going to ask you, and the reason is after the DNA results, you were informed by the DNA results, you picked up, or you had somebody pick up the phone and call the media yourself, didn't you?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember reaching out to the media to get your story out about the DNA prior to the
Sure.
time? You did, didn't you?
After the fact.
After what fact?
That they come up with some new DNA.
Right, but it was before the. It was before you were interviewed by the police that you reached out to the media, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
It was before they filed their habeas corpus that you reached out to the media, didn't it?
I'm not sure.
Who reached out to? Did you reach out to the media, or was that Mr. Sampson, or someone else?
The media came looking for me.
But didn't you call the media?
Well, the media came looking for me. I went and got a hold of Mr. Sampson and asked him if he would talk to the media because I was tired of them.
You called Jamie Roach, didn't you? Janice Broach. You
I'm
called
not sure.
Janice Broach, didn't you?
I've called Janice several times.
Who was Janice Broach?
She's Janice Broach. She's a reporter.
For who?
Channel 5 in Memphis.
Channel 5. Is that one of the networks?
A local TV station.
Do they have a network affiliation, like NBC or ABC or Fox? Or
I'm not sure. Seem like they do, but I'm not sure.
okay. And how many times over the years have you reached out to Miss Broach?
I've talked to her a few times. I'm not sure how many.
Well, more than 5?
I imagine.
More than 10?
I couldn't tell you.
How many times have you called her about a story?
I'm not sure.
Isn't it true, Mr. Hobbs, that prior to the time that the new DNA results were made public, that you called Miss Broach, told her about the results, and that you wanted to talk to her about it?
I'm not sure about that.
You did do it, though, didn't you? You or somebody on your
sure.
behalf.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Well, who would know? If Miss Broach testifies to that, you think she's a liar?
I trust her.
You think she's a, so if she said that you did, you think that'd be right?
Well, I don't know what she would say, but
If someone were to testify that you contacted the media prior to the public release of the DNA in an effort to get your side of the story out on the DNA, would that be a lie?
I don't know. I don't recall that.
Well, did you contact them? Did you contact the media and try to get your side of the story out?
I did at one point.
When was that?
After all this stuff was going on.
What stuff you talking about?
They had my DNA supposedly out there, and people were looking at me like I was a suspect. That's when I wanted my story out there.
And this was before you were interviewed by the police, right? Because the police were responding to all...
I'm not sure about that.
The police were responding to all the questions and public inquiry about whether or not it was your DNA found in the ligature of that little boy, right?
I'm not sure. The police had never told me that was my DNA.
Well, didn't the police in some of the press say that that it was your DNA, but that it got there by what do they call transfer? Didn't the police
accept that?
Didn't the police say that?
Objection, that's a hearsay statement.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You don't recall the police ever saying that it was your DNA, but it got there via innocent transfer?
I do recall the police saying that Mr. Hobbs was not a suspect in '93, and he's not one in '07.
That's not my question. My question was, do you recall the police saying that it was your DNA, but that it had gotten there through innocent transfer?
Well, I don't recall that.
And do you recall Mr. Sampson stating in a question to the media that sure it could be your DNA, but it would have gotten there through innocent transfer? You recall Mr. Sampson saying that in your presence to the media?
I don't remember.
Since the boys were often at Hobbs's home, it is within the realm of possibility that DNA evidence could be completely meaningless to the case.
Had to ask Ross.
Isn't that what happened?
What?
That it is your hair and it got there through innocent transfer?
The police has never told me it was my hair.
That wasn't my question. I wasn't.
Well, you might need to ask them because I don't know.
You think it was your hair?
No.
Why not?
It could have been. I'm not sure.
Could have been. Do you know what percentage of the population matched that hair?
Seemed like it was 1 in versus 2 or 3 million.
1 in 2 or 3 million?
I'm just guessing. There were statistics on it.
1 or 2 or 3 million match, or 1 or 2 and 2 or 3 million can be excluded?
Well, whichever.
Well, there's a big difference, isn't there?
I'm not sure.
Objection, lack of foundation. He's not an expert in DNA or statistics.
Who first told you about the DNA match?
Ron Lax.
And who was Mr. Lax?
He is one of the investigators for Damien Eccles.
And what did you say when Mr. Lax told you that your DNA was found in the ligature of one of the knots that tied
I
up
don't
the
remember
3
what
little
I
boys?
said. I probably cussed him.
You don't like him, do you?
I don't know him. I've met him through this.
You don't like him, do you?
I've met him through this. He could have a better attitude.
Would it be fair to say you're not going to exchange Christmas cards?
Exactly.
Okay. Do you recall what Mr. Lax told you?
Oh, yeah.
What did he tell you?
What are you going to do when I sick the dogs on you?
Meaning what to you?
Ask him.
When he told you, what are you going to do when I sick the dogs on you, what did you understand that to be?
I wouldn't cooperate with him. I owed him nothing.
Not my question. My question is, what did you
He threatened me with the dogs. Now, you might ask him, what are the dogs?
And what did you say in response when he threatened you with the dogs?
Probably a bad word.
Anything else?
Probably 2 bad words.
Just cussed him out and left?
Probably.
All right. And after he told you, that's when you called Janice Broach, isn't it?
I'm not sure about that time frame.
Okay. Let's go back to your lady friend. She also testified that not only had you found the little boys prior to the time that the police did, but that you said that they were buried underwater. What did you mean when you said that?
Well, you pick up on that through the media, because the media had put out there that the boys were buried underwater. That's the only way we knew that.
Okay. So you did tell her that the boys were buried underwater?
I'm not sure.
Well, did you or didn't you?
I don't know.
You think Pam is a good person?
I was married to Pam for 17 years.
Think she's a good person?
I wouldn't have stayed married to her if I didn't think otherwise.
Okay. Think she's an honest person?
I think she has some problems.
It's not my question. People can have problems and yet still be honest folks. Mr. Hobbs, my question is, you think she's an honest person?
No, not all the time.
Okay. Think she's a truthful person?
Not all the time.
Hobbs is careful to discredit anything that might have been said by his ex-wife by implying that she has mental health problems. This is a standard ploy for someone with Hobbs's history of abuse.
When do you think she's not honest and truthful?
When she's mad.
Okay. Any other time?
Mad.
Any other time?
I'm not sure.
Was she a good mom to Stevie?
Sure.
Good mom to Amanda?
Sure.
I want to ask about some of the other, let me back up. Do you think that Pam would be honest and truthful in her statements regarding the murders and the involvement of either the West Memphis Three or you in that?
Pam has been wishy-washy. She's jumped from one side to the other.
My question to you, sir, is do you think that she will be an honest and truthful person when it comes to what happened with regard to the West Memphis Three, the murders, and your involvement in the search, or all of the actions about the event?
I think she would be honest. I would hope so.
Okay. You have no reason to think otherwise?
Oh, yeah, there's a reason.
There's reasons? Just because you...
Depends on what day she gets up.
What do you mean by that?
If she get up one day thinking one thing, she get up the next day thinking the other.
Okay.
Mr. Davison, we have less than 2 minutes on this tape.
Why don't we change the tapes then?
We're going off record for a tape change at 11:15 a.m. We are back on record after a tape change at 11:17 a.m.
Mr. Hobbs, you still understand you're under oath?
I do.
Other than, Miss Nelson, other than the statement about you finding the bodies before the police did, other than that statement, do you believe that she is an honest person?
After that statement, you don't know what to believe about her.
Any other statements that she's made that you think are false?
I don't know. I don't know what all she's made.
Why do you think she's, I mean, I guess your testimony is she's making that up?
We talked, about whatever, but when it comes to that, that's fabricated.
Okay. So when you say you talked about whatever, you talked about the murders and then the search and all that. I would assume that's something that you talked with your lady friend about. It's a big part of your life.
Okay.
I mean, is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. And when you were talking to your lady friend about it and whatnot, why do you think she's making it up?
You have to ask her that.
Well, that's I'm asking you.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Who's Marie Hicks?
That's Pam's mother.
You like her?
She was my mother-in-law for 17 years.
That's a loaded question, but do you like her?
I always tried to get along with her.
All right. You think she's an honest lady?
Oh, no.
Oh, no?
No, sir.
Why do you say that?
Because I've done been through that one.
What do you mean by that?
I've heard that woman lie on me like a dog.
What has she said about lying like a dog about you about?
In court up there in Blytheville.
I'm sorry?
An ex parte. They tried to get an ex parte against my daughter And they got up in front of that judge and told some of the biggest lies you ever heard.
That's about the allegations that you sexually abused Amanda?
All kind of things. Allegations of that and drug abuse and drug addiction. And
Amanda later said that she had no memory of her stepfather ever harming her in any way, but she was young enough at the time that she might not recall the event.
Alcoholic, and, you know, and I'm none of the above.
And was this in the divorce, or was this something else?
This was before the divorce.
Okay. So she got up and testified at court that you had used drugs.
Oh yeah.
And that's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And she testified.
They was talking about he's a drug addict. You know,
Okay.
He's not.
And you weren't a drug addict.
Never have been.
What's a drug addict? How do you define a drug addict, Terry?
Someone that uses drugs all the time, I guess.
All right.
I don't know.
And she testified that you abused alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Uh-huh. She did.
And she testified that you abused Amanda, right? Sexually abused Amanda.
Well, I'm not sure about that one, but I've heard it out of this family.
Well, there were formal allegations that you sexually abused your daughter, were there not?
I know that.
And they were brought to court?
I don't think they ever been brought to court.
Brought to court?
No.
Well, what do you recall the allegations that the family made against you about abusing your daughter?
What do I recall?
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of junk, garbage, bunch of stuff they sit around and make up just has something to do.
And you never did that. You never abused your daughter.
No, sir, I never have.
Never did. Someone who
I
did
love
that.
my daughter. I love my son.
Someone who did that. Someone who is a child abuser, you would agree, would have a pretty poor reputation in the community, would they not?
Excellent cause for legal conclusion.
You know, just in your opinion, would someone who is a child abuser, would they have a poor reputation in the community?
I would think.
Okay. And what about someone who is a drug addict? Would they have a bad reputation in the community, Mr. Hobbs?
I would think.
And someone who uses cocaine, would they have a bad reputation in the community?
You would think.
Okay. And someone who uses marijuana, would they have a bad reputation in the community?
Had to ask the community. I'm not
Well, I'm
sure.
asking you.
I don't know.
You think less of someone who uses drugs?
I try not to judge people.
Okay. What about someone who shot a brother-in-law with a .357 Magnum in the stomach? They have a bad reputation in the community?
No.
No? It's okay to go around shooting people in the stomach?
No.
No?
You don't know the circumstances.
Well, you shot your brother-in-law in the stomach with a .357, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Well, you shoot your brother-in-law in the stomach with a gun?
No.
He was never shot?
There was a gun discharged, and no one knew where it went. No one pointed a gun at anybody to shoot somebody with.
Let's back up here. Your brother-in-law was shot, right, in the stomach?
I'm not sure where.
Your brother-in-law was shot, though, right? With
He
a
was
handgun.
hit with a bullet.
And whose gun did the bullet come from?
Mine.
And who was holding the gun when it went off?
I was.
And the gun was loaded with hollow point bullets, right?
Correct.
And you were charged with criminal charges were brought against you, right?
And soon dropped.
You ever convicted at all on that?
No, sir.
No. What? We'll come back to that in a little bit, Mr. Hobbs.
Hobbs is confident that they can't use this line of questioning against him since the charges were dropped. There is also no way to prove his intent at the time.
Who's Jackie Hicks?
Well, there was a senior and a junior.
Okay, what about? I'm talking about senior. I'm sorry.
That's Pam's dad.
What'd you
My
think?
ex-father-in-law.
What'd you think of him?
I respected him.
Honest, truthful fellow.
Pretty good man.
Pretty good man.
Mm-hmm.
About Jackie Jr.
Boy. Big boy.
That's the guy you shot. That's the guy who got shot. You didn't shoot him. That's the guy that got shot.
Okay.
You know, I'm asking you. Is that the same fella
He
that
is.
magically got shot?
Okay. He is.
Okay. And He's dead now, right?
He is.
Died of drug overdose?
I'm not sure. They said, I think one time there was blood clot in his lungs, and I heard of some drug. I don't know really exactly.
Okay. Who's Jolynn McCarthy? McCarthy? Who's Jolynn?
I don't know. I know of Jolynn, but I don't know her last name.
All right. Who's Jolynn?
Pam's sister.
You and Pam's sister, older sister, younger sister?
Younger.
You guys get along?
Probably not.
Why not?
She's caused a lot of problems in my home, and I didn't appreciate that.
How did she cause problems in your home, Mr. Hobbs?
Her drug usage.
So she used drugs.
Ask her.
I'm asking you. You said her drug usage. She used drugs?
She was feeding them to my wife, and I did not approve of that.
She feed them to you?
I tried it with them. I didn't like what they were doing, and I tried to run her off over that.
What drugs did you try from her or with her?
Her crystal.
Her crystal. So you did use crystal meth?
One time I have tried it.
Okay. I thought you said earlier you hadn't. I apologize. Is she a truthful and honest person?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Not in my opinion.
She got it out for you?
She does.
Why?
She thinks I killed her brother.
That'd be Jackie Jr.
Correct.
When did Jackie die?
I'm not sure.
Did she have it out for you before?
She thinks I killed her nephew.
That'd be Stevie.
Yes, sir.
Why does she think you killed Stevie?
I don't know.
Well,
I have to ask her.
Why do you understand that she thinks you killed her nephew Stevie?
I don't know.
She's never told you why she thinks you killed Stevie?
Well, no.
I'm sorry?
No. I might have heard she thought I didn't like him or something, but you had to ask her.
Okay. Who's Judy Sadler?
Pam has a sister named Judy. I don't know her last name.
Younger sister, older sister?
Younger.
You like Judy?
I tried to like them all.
They like you?
No.
Why? Do you understand why not?
They think I killed their brother.
Jackie Jr., they also think you killed Stevie, don't they?
They do. I've heard that.
In fact, they've been pretty vocal in the press about that, haven't they?
I've heard that.
I'm sorry?
I have heard that.
And they've been pretty vocal about that in the press for a couple of years, haven't they?
They have.
And you've had to defend yourself in the press and the media for a couple of years about the Hicks family thinking you killed Stevie, haven't you?
The Hicks and others.
The Hicks and others, for a couple of years, you've had to defend yourself about being the murderer or one of the murderers. Isn't that right?
I have.
And this DNA and everything that's come up in the last couple of years, that's just on top of it. That's just new proof or allegations about the same thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you have to
Yes.
answer out loud. You have to answer out loud, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of people has drugged my name into it over this.
And that's been that's been really since shortly after the convictions, right? The Paradise Lost 2 came out and raised all kinds of questions about who the right, who the murderers were.
None about me. None about me.
When did you start to get in the press, sir, and having to defend yourself?
People began to accuse Hobbs fairly early on, but the idea did not gain much traction since 3 people were convicted of the crime.
About allegations that you were the murderer or one of the murderers.
If I had said anything, it was within the past couple years.
Past couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who's Paula Hicks? Another sister?
Pam's sister.
Younger or older?
Younger.
Honest, you like honest blah blah blah. You like her? You like Paula?
I try to like them all.
Try to like them all. They like you? Does she like you?
No.
No? Because she thinks she killed Jackie St. Jr. And also Stevie, right?
I guess.
Well, I mean, that's what they've told you, right?
That's what I've heard.
And that's what they've told the press, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer out loud.
I don't know if Paula has said it to the press, but I've heard it amongst the family.
And you've heard it in the community, right?
Well, not really in the community. I've just heard it on TV, newspapers.
And that's over the last several years?
No.
No?
Last couple years.
Last couple years. When you say couple, when do you mean?
I think this all started in 07.
When the DNA results came out?
Exactly.
And at that point, everything just piled on top of one another, didn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
In the minds of many people, DNA evidence on one of the boys and near the scene is a clear indication of Hobbs's guilt.
David Jacoby, good friend of yours?
He still is.
You like him?
I always have.
Honest fellow?
He seems to be.
Truthful fellow?
Seems to be.
He have any reason to lie about?
Not on me.
Not on you?
And I don't know about anything else.
Okay. Have you talked to him about this lawsuit?
I probably have.
You promised him any money?
No.
No? You hadn't said, I'm going to give you some money when I get all this money from the Dixie Chicks?
Not one time.
Not one time?
No.
What about anybody from Pam's side of the family? You have promised anybody from Pam's side of the family a bunch of money?
No.
No?
No.
So if somebody testifies to that fact, that you said that you would give them or their trusts or foundations money, they'd be lying.
I've told Pam over the years that I'd always wanted to see her do her mommy thing.
What do you mean mommy thing?
Well, it's an organization that we put together for Pam, that she really put together.
So you did tell Pam that...
No.
So you didn't tell Pam you'd give her any money for her foundation out of any
I've
settlement?
always told her in the past, I'd like to help you get this going.
The hair could have been a potential match for 1.5% of the population. Out of everyone involved in the case, the only match was Hobbs.
The only DNA that was found was DNA that has been publicly linked to you and or Mr. Jacoby. Isn't that right?
Objection like foundation.
Yeah.
Well, you understand from reading the press and talking to the police?
No, the police has never told me that was your hair.
But they said it's linked to you. They can't
It
exclude
said it
you,
could
can
be
they?
one of.
Right, and the percentage of folks that would be matched is...
And if it was
Objection
my
like
hair,
foundation.
I'm sorry?
Personal knowledge.
if it was my hair,
Right.
I raised that boy.
You raised Stevie.
I did.
Right. And so, possible it's your hair, but it just got there because Stevie was in your house all the time, right?
Well, he lived with
He
me.
lived with you. Matter of fact, that's what Mr. Sampson said in the public, isn't it? Well, it could be his. I mean, we're not saying it's not, because it could be transfer, and Stevie lived at the house all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had to answer out loud.
Yes.
Right? And you authorized Mr. Sampson, you said, Mr. Sampson, we need to get this message out. That's what we need to tell folks, right?
Right.
I mean, you've never publicly denied that it's your hair, have you?
I've never been convinced it was my hair.
Right.
And yes, I've had said I don't believe it was my hair.
Okay. And why do you say that?
Because I don't believe it was my hair.
Well,
And if it was, I don't care.
You don't care if it was your hair, because Stevie was at your house all the time.
He was my stepson.
Right. How do you explain Mr. Jacoby's DNA being found?
I don't have no explanation for that.
Objection to the characterization is his DNA.
How do you explain the DNA that's been connected with Mr. Jacoby being found at the crime scene?
I have no explanation.
Okay. Because Mr. Jacoby, at least as far as come out so far, was never at the crime scene, so his DNA could never get there, right?
I couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you. And you spent, I mean, we went over this a lot this morning, you spent a lot of time with Mr. Jacoby that day, right?
That afternoon and evening we did. And through the night.
Looking for the boys,
Yes, sir.
getting out of the car,
Mm-hmm.
walking around the woods.
We did.
Now, do you have an explanation for how the DNA that's been associated with you ended up not in Stevie's ligature but Michael Moore's ligature? I could understand perhaps innocent transfer if it was in Stevie's, if it's in the knots
Have you ever
that
heard
tied
of
Stevie's.
secondary
Let me
transfer?
answer. Remember we talked about earlier. Let me finish my question, then you get to answer.
Objection argumentative.
You
Ask
open
the
the
question,
door.
don't get in his face. Your
Ignorant.
menacing
I'm not
tone
asking. I'm
will
not in
not
his
assist.
face. I'm just simply trying to say, can you explain to me, sir, how secondary transfer could get from you to the knots in the shoestrings that tied little Mikey Moore's hands and feet behind him?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence because it assumes that the shoestrings on the boy were the shoestrings used to tie the boy, which has not been established.
So the shoestrings, you'll agree with me that the DNA that's been associated with you was found in the knot that tied the shoestrings of Michael Moore, correct?
Objection to the characterization of found in a knot
The ligature.
or a ligature. There's no proof that that's happened. So if you want to assume hypothetically that it was in a knot, then you can react to your assumption.
Answer the question, Mr. Hobbs.
I'm not going to agree with you.
Well, I'm just asking you how you can explain how the DNA that's been associated with you was found in the ligature of the shoestrings that tied Michael Moore.
And I object on the basis of there's no foundation of this witness's personal knowledge as to where the hair was found.
This DNA evidence is one of the strongest indications of Hobbs's guilt. There was no DNA evidence from the West Memphis 3 found at the scene, which seems almost impossible given the other details of the crime. Can Hobbs provide an explanation? Why is he so violently opposed to the West Memphis 3 getting another trial? We explore these questions in the second part of this video. That'll do it for today. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there's a Patreon link in the description below where you can do just that. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.